All right, what I'd like to cover in this video is the importance of having a real lead system. Today we're going to talk about a couple different types of lead sources out there, kind of the pros and cons of both, and why we feel like direct mail is the leader, and some data and some information behind that. So really, to start off, a real lead system is a system that allows you to be successful week in and week out. There's pretty much any type of lead system out there. There's agents that can get a handful of those leads, go out, be successful, make some money. But can you do that consistently? When we're running sustainability for a lead area, we're running it to see if it's sustainable for that agent 52 weeks out of the year, because we're preparing for that agent to need leads every single week. A lot of agents we talk to, they kind of have short-term mentality. They're looking for a lead solution for the next couple weeks or the next month. You need to get on a system that you can do each and every week and get consistent with, and you want to have higher quality leads that are sustainable. Can you get enough leads on a weekly basis in the area you're wanting to work? Not can you get enough leads one time. So the main type of lead sources out there is direct mail, Facebook leads, and telemarketing leads. Now, I know there's other sources. Some of you listening to this might be, at home remote agents that are taking inbound live transfers or something like that. I mean, there's TV leads, but what we mostly deal with is field agents, face-to-face, boots on the ground. And these are the three main sources that you'll find with that. And I want to cover those now. Facebook leads, one of the reasons I don't think they're the main source for an agent to use, they're not good for a consistent system, is limited reach, serial responders, competitive carriers, larger area needed, and your area will dry up faster. Now, to explain that, limited reach, just compare it to seniors in our market that we're targeting. Is there more seniors that have a mailbox in front of their house versus seniors with a Facebook account? And it's just a limited number of people that you can reach out to with your marketing and try to get responders back. Then you run into the serial responders. You have the same thing with direct mail as well, which we'll kind of talk about in a little bit. But with Facebook, some of the people in an area that will respond will always respond. I was associated with a Facebook lead company for a few years. We decided to kind of part ways with that organization. But one thing you found was, internally, a lot of companies out there that do Facebook leads, they'll kind of have a list of, in Austin, Texas, here's the people that will respond. And when a new agent places an order, they're going to run a lot of ads to that person because they can fill your order without costing themselves as much money. And so you'll find with Facebook leads that you're in houses that other agents have been in pretty recently. And a lot of times that is independent agents that have a good lineup in their bag. A lot of your captive carriers out there, or your more expensive carriers, the Senior Lifes, Old Americans, Lincoln Heritages, things like that, they're usually not running Facebook leads. It's usually the independent agents that's responsible for paying for their own leads. They want a lead source that they can get leads in 48 hours and pay $10, $12, $15 a lead. So that's why the next little list segment here says competitive carriers. As an agent, if you're going to work Facebook leads, you will have to have the carriers in your bag like Life Shield, Security National Life, Trinity Life or Family Benefit Life, Standard Life and Casualty. A lot of these price busting carriers, you can't be out there running Facebook leads writing the most expensive products like Americo, or carriers that don't have as good of underwriting. You'll have to be really competitive with your carrier lineup running Facebook leads. The other thing is a larger area. Back to what I said in the beginning, a lot less people have a Facebook account versus a mailbox outside. So, you'll find yourself working a 50-mile radius or 100-mile radius. But in the last point, that area is going to dry up faster. If you call up and tell a Facebook vendor that, I want 40 leads to work next week, they'll start running your ads and you'll get 40 leads. But they might can only get you 40 leads in a week for 2 or 3 weeks. And then they'll deny your order and you'll say, well, I have to go to work. What do I do? Well, you'll have to pick a different area. Well, it's only, 50 miles or 1 hour away. I'm going to drive that hour. Well, you do that 2 or 3 weeks, guess what? It's dried up. And before you know it, you're working statewide or you're going to other states. And so that's one of the reasons I don't feel like it's a long-term solution for agents trying to get on a steady stream of income. The next one, telemarketing leads. There's TCPA laws involved with telemarketing leads that you really have to watch out for. We talk to a lot of agents just buying leads. I talk to them about TCPA laws and they're like, oh, well, that's not on me. I didn't generate the leads. You're buying them from a company in Pakistan or the Philippines or wherever. Those lead vendors are not going to get in trouble if you break TCPA laws. If somebody is on the do not call list and they're called, if they're marketing and it call forwards to their cell phone, there's a list of 33,000, last year it was 33,000 professional litigators that all they do for a job is respond to telemarketing ads and things like that. And then whenever the agent calls to book an appointment, they set the appointment, you show up, and they get all the data they need. Which carrier are you writing? Which organization do you work with? They get all of that. Everything has been recorded, and then they sue you. Just last year, we had 4 agents that buy telemarketing leads outside from us. Outside of us, we don't offer telemarketing in any way. I'm not a fan of telemarketing leads. I tell agents never to work telemarketing leads. But we have 4 different agents get sued. The cheapest lawsuit was $25,000 that the agent got sued for. And just remember, a lot of agents, and you don't know any better, right? And it's easy to think, well, look, this company generates the leads. My job's just to go work them. And you don't think you'll get in trouble, but you will. So telemarketing leads is tough. I would stay away from them. Also, the data is limited if done legitimately. Think about it. How many people out there have a house phone that's still connected, and they're not on the do not call list, and they'll answer the phone and talk to someone in a foreign language and set an appointment? It's just so limited. Now, I've seen companies that say, man, I can get you 50 telemarketing leads in Lauderdale County, Mississippi every single week. Lauderdale County, Mississippi is not that big. You're not getting me 50 leads every single week unless you're breaking the TCPA laws by not scrubbing for do not call, not scrubbing out cell phones and things like that. Again, because of the data being limited, your area dries up faster because they go through all the data to get you 1 or 2 weeks worth of leads. Then you got to move on. And then also it's low quality leads. I say that because they're gullible. And what that means is, how many of us get calls for extended car warranties or health care or whatever, and you just hang up on them? These are people that actually listen to someone, usually the person speaking in a language where they can't completely understand them. And they're gullible enough to sit there and actually become a lead. And then you call and set an appointment and go see them. You're seeing people that you will find are a little bit easier to close because they are gullible. You can close a good bit of telemarketing leads, and I hear agents all the time brag about that. But the problem with that is every time that phone rings, they're going to do the same thing, and another agent's coming. And I know some of you are thinking, man, I got the best rapport building. I'm great at warming down. I'm great at this. My clients stick. You can think that. But whenever you're talking to clients like this that are really gullible and they're going to fill out a telemarketing call every single time they're going to respond, other agents that go out there are just as skilled, and they replace your America with Transamerica. And then the next agent that gets that lead replaces that Transamerica with this one. And you will find that you'll have much greater fall off by working this type lead. Next thing, just kind of like a little thing that I like to talk about with Facebook and telemarketing leads, just to kind of put it all into perspective. Let's just make up some numbers here, right? Play along. So let's just say in an area like Lauderdale County, Mississippi, let's say there was 100 agents, life insurance agents, okay? And they all have to go out in the field. They all have to buy their own leads and, be responsible for that on a weekly basis. Out of those 100 agents, you'll find that if all 100 found out about a direct mail program, only probably 5 out of that 100 would actually commit. Because think about direct mail. You have to spend some money today get mail out, wait 3-4 weeks for that mail to come in. Well, once that mail comes in and you work it, that's only 1 week's worth of work. You can't work 1 week every month if it takes 3 to 4 weeks for the leads to come in. So an agent has to put money out week 1 to have leads on week 4, right? They got to put out leads week 2 to have leads on week 5, and so forth. So it's a high cost unless you're on a free lead program like we have. It's a high cost to get direct mail going up front, but not only that, the per lead cost is more expensive. So if I tell you a direct mail is $30, first thing, a lot of those 100 agents that we're playing along about, a lot of them's gonna be like, oh man, I talked to somebody and he can get me telemarketing for $8, and another guy can get me Facebook for $12. I would never pay $30. This is where it starts, right? So now let's look at those 100 agents. 95 of them say that and say, you know what, we're going to go get cheap Facebook and telemarketing leads. To heck with the direct mail. And so then 5 agents actually sign up and go on direct mail. Well, what you'll find is now in Lauderdale County, Mississippi, you got 95 of these make-believe 100 agents. You have 95 of them that all order Facebook and telemarketing. They're all independent. They all have good carriers in their bag, and they're all going to see those clients. Well, they're all getting the same people. They're getting the same leads no matter what. Okay? So now let's think about it. In Lauderdale County, Mississippi, let's just say there was 1 million people. Just say there was 1 million. About 10% will actually be able to be marketed to with Facebook or telemarketing because of do not call list. People have cell phones now instead of landlines. And then how many 78-year-old seniors have Facebook, right? That number's growing every day, but it's still relatively small compared to people with a mailbox. So now you have 95% of the independent agents in this scenario working 10% of the pool of people. Now let's go back to the 5 that said, hey, no, we'll go with direct mail. Now there's 1 million people that can actually be mailed to, because if there was 1 million people that fit in our demographics, 10% of them, so 100,000, could get Facebook and telemarketing leads, but the whole million have mailboxes. So now these 5 agents, or only 5% of the agents in this scenario, are working the pool of 1 million instead of working in the pool of 100,000 with 95 other agents. So they get a lot higher end clientele, a lot better chances at closing. And also one other thing I like to say is a lot of your captive situations or your lower end policies, the senior lives, Lincoln Heritages, Old American, all that stuff, a lot of them use direct mail. And have used it for years because they know it's consistent and it's a way to get their agents out there closing deals. So these 5 agents out of the 100 that's working this pool over here, they're running into a lot more policies that's overpriced, or the client just takes Plavix, been taking it for 6 years, and they have a 3-year waiting period, and my agent can get them a day 1 policy at half the price. It's an easy replacement. Whereas the other 95 agents over here, they're all competing against the same carriers. You're walking into a Foresters, an American Amicable, a Prosperity, a Royal Neighbors, whatever the case may be, and it's a lot harder to run into replacement situations. I've had agents, I had an agent in West Virginia that said, man, I see a lot of agents dinging in the chat where our agents ding whenever they write an app, and a lot of them saying they replaced Lincoln Heritage. Like, I never run into Lincoln Heritage. And I told that agent, I said, because you've never committed to working direct mail. You're working Facebook leads. You're rarely going to run into a Lincoln Heritage agent because they don't work Facebook leads. That agent eventually switched and started working direct mail and started hitting, Lincoln Heritage replacements quite often. So that's just something to think about as to why those leads are not as high of a quality lead as direct mail. Now, on direct mail, there's consistent results. If I know that I have to mail 1,700 pieces of mail to get you your 25 leads a week that you want, it's simple. I'll mail 1,700 pieces of mail every single week. You're going to have weeks that 31 come back. You'll have weeks that 19 come back, but it will average out, and you'll carry a little inventory to kind of fulfill your total number of weekly leads that you need. You can work a smaller area. Our agents are inside of 1 county on a weekly basis. If you're in a rural area, you might have 5 or 6 counties that's part of your territory, but we're only mailing 1 county at a time and putting you inside of 1 county at a time. It's a long-term solution because back to the scenario I just gave you, there's a million people in an area, you can mail all million of the senior market, as opposed to we could only mail 10%, or we could only call and Facebook market to 10%. That allows you to not have to have such a large area because it's more data. Higher quality client, right? So it's just a higher quality lead, get you higher quality clients. The client actually did something. This might sound odd to some of you, but the client actually went to the mailbox, got the lead, sit down, read it, went and found a pen, a crayon, a pencil, whatever it was, and wrote it all over it, put their stuff all over it, and then had to walk that back out to the mailbox, right? There was some initiative there. They did something instead of just sitting there watching guns smoke. Their phone rings, they answer it, and they can't understand anything, and they just say yes to get off the phone. It's a real lead, real client. They have longer shelf life. There's no such thing as an age direct mail, really. If you're working direct mail that no one else has ever worked, it wouldn't matter if it was 9 months old. You work it, and will have the same results you would have had if they was brand new. A lot of times better results. If a lead is a little bit older, they either never saw an agent in the 9 months since they sent that lead in. Well, the need is still there. Now you fulfill it. Or they've seen an agent, and like I said earlier, usually it's a captive type agent, and you're able to replace that policy and get them a better deal, make sure your job easier. Again, less competition from independent agents, which is the scenario I kind of just covered. And again, more captive policy. So with all that said, our belief here at Final Expense Services is to help agents with a consistent system. I don't want you to go out and have a $6,000 week and celebrate all over Facebook, and you don't get to write another app for 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks because you didn't have a system, right? It was just a one-time thing that you figured out. Our agents have a system. That's why we have the 3 different programs. The Elite program, if an agent wants to start at 115 to 120% commission, depending on the carrier, on final expense, that comes with 125, 130% on term from day one, and then work your levels up from there to 140, 145, whatever. We have that program, and you pay for the lead yourself. We have the middle program for some agents that don't quite have the funds to pay $30 a lead, but they might be comfortable paying $16 for direct mail, right? So we have a program that gives you an 85% commission on final expense across the board with $16 direct mail leads. And there's 4 of those programs. You can do 85 with 16, 90 with 18, 95 with 20, or 100% commission with $22 direct mail. And then on the other end, we have the free lead program. We give our agents a 70% contract with fresh, exclusive direct mail that we're talking about right here that costs me $30 a piece to generate for you. And we set your appointments with our in-house appointment setters here in Mississippi. We set your appointments. And the reason we have those different programs and we believe in direct mail so much is because I like long-term relationships. I want to see an agent go out and get on a consistent system of writing 3, 4, 5, 6,000 a week, whatever your numbers are, your skill level. Write that each and every week and be able to do that long term and prepare your bills around it, your lifestyle around it, take care of your family with it. That's very, very important to me. And so that's why we use this system. We provide you the support. You have a number you call while you're inside the house with a client. You get to call that number and we'll help overcome objections, underwrite the policy for you, talk to the client with you, whatever we have to do to ensure you're successful. And we do that because we know for a fact if we do that in the beginning, we won't have to do it for you forever. You'll catch on. But if we can help hold your hand in the beginning and get you consistent, you'll be able to make it in this business long term. And that's how our system is designed. So that's why direct mail is king. Now, one thing I'll leave you with, many organizations out there, or IMOs as we most know them, they don't have access to a fixed price direct mail program. It's a very expensive program. It can cost hundreds of thousands in leftover inventory that you're holding at a given time. And so those organizations are forced to rely on the lower end lead sources. But because of this, you'll hear a lot of them tell you, direct mail is overpriced. It's not the best source. It's outdated. I encourage you to do your own research and follow agents that's consistent on their own pen week in and week out. I've been on carrier trips all across the world, and every time I go and I talk to people, I would say well over 90% of the people I talk to, they made it to those carrier trips off the back of direct mail leads, not another lead source. It's very rare you would see a field agent at a carrier trip and they didn't get there by using direct mail. Now again, Facebook leads, there's some good vendors out there, reputable people, nothing wrong with them as in terms of the people or the company, but it goes back to what I said about the leads. That can't be argued, right? It's not as much data as it is with direct mail. It's not as much intent whenever the lead comes in, and it is more competitive. More people are seeing that same lead that has the same carriers in their bag as you do, and a lot of times they've been doing it a lot longer than you. So you're setting yourself up at a disadvantage when you're working those leads. But if you're somebody that lives in a large area, you live in Dallas, Texas, well, you can probably work there a pretty good bit of time without having to travel. But I guarantee you, if you live in Dallas, Texas, and it could generate 2,000 Facebook leads a week, just say, I guarantee you those mail vendors or Facebook vendors are selling 2,000 a week. So the 2,000 they could generate at one time is getting sold. And then when the next guy comes in, you're getting the data that's already been used for another agent. That Facebook vendor can't use it again for agent A that bought it last week, but he can use that same data and pretty much get the same clients and same leads to respond again to agent B next week. And so you're just in this hamster wheel that really never ends. So if you're willing to travel, Facebook leads can be a good option because your area can't dry up if your area is everywhere. So just something to think about. But I highly recommend agents get on a consistent direct mail system. I know some of the big organizations out there right now, it's log into this portal and buy some of our leads for $11. And you get to see posts all over Facebook to where this agent, I bought some $11 leads. I spent $1,000 and I made 18 grand. That's 1 out of 10,000 people that did it that week making that post. Talk to the, over 9,000 agents that it didn't work out that way, that well for. We get agents all the time that say, hey man, look, I need a new home. I've done spent $7,000, only made one sale. I spent $6,000 and didn't make a sale. I've spent $13,000 and only wrote $2,000. And a lot of times that gets put on social media as well. The agent's weak. The agent's not good enough. The agent's this. But really, when you look at it, you're buying leads that in the last month, 14 other agents have logged in and bought those same leads because these organizations are doing recruiting events and hiring 3,000 people in an area that can only sustain 20, right? And they're all buying the same leads every single week and everybody's working on them. Find yourself a consistent system. Not saying we're the only one. There's plenty out there. Find a consistent system. Get into a system and an organization that can have you in front of fresh, interested clients each and every week. You'll write deals each and every week, and your bank account will thank you. So do some research. Find you a good home. Appreciate you for listening.